support for the defendant, Miss Sears' son, Dylan.
That's right.
Mr. Manser, you are not
Oh, God.
his father.
Oh, man. 5 years in prison.
It's an evil world we live in.
If a woman goes and has a kid by somebody else and she comes home and says, this is your baby, you find out 3 years later that that's not your kid and she lied to you the whole time. And she knew.
Oh.
You've been raising this kid as yours.
Maybe she didn't know, but she was unsure.
No, she knew. So you
There go the excuses right there. Maybe she didn't know, but she wasn't sure. The only way to be sure is to get a DNA test.
either way, you was doing something wrong. You should have known. There's no excuse. So anyway, you're raising this kid as your own. She know it ain't yours, and you've been paying for it. When he find out, so now he ain't got a right to beat her ass?
No.
But if it was the opposite way around, she would have the right
He's
to
supposed to
smack
get
the hell
on
out
her,
of him,
take her
right?
to court, be
So
mad,
if it's the other way
Let
around,
me go on record and say, I don't condone violence on either side. But let's continue.
I'm smiling, but it ain't funny. I'm smiling, but it ain't funny.
No,
then
you shouldn't have put his hand.
she has a right to smack him because she's mad because she got done wrong. So there's a difference, right?
I think so.
Just look at her facial expression. Like it totally changed when he just flipped the script on her.
How can you say in one breath that it's not okay for the guy to hit the female, but in the next you understand if the female hits the guy?
Oh, that was different.
You crazy.
I think so. I think
That's what's wrong with society.
That is crazy. You gonna... She basically just said that it's okay for a female to hit a guy, but not a guy to hit a female. And what's her rationale? She didn't even give an explanation as to why she think it was okay. It's because she's a female and she should be able to do that. Okay.
Our topic is, should a man stay around after he finds out the child he had with his wife or girlfriend was not his, and the child is 10 years old? And if he leaves, should he be required to pay child support?
What? Hold up. You mean this ain't my son and I spent all my damn money on Shorty?
This is a classic case of being irresponsible and deceitful. You knew at the time of conception that you were messing with two guys, and that either one could have been a possibility of being the child's father. Once the child was born, you should have had both men tested so you can establish paternity.
That is a deep question. That is deep. I would say that he should not be required to pay child support, but also look at the relationship that he has with the kid. If they're close and, you know, they've been together, he's been in his life this whole time, does he have his dad? I think that's one of those things you have to weigh what's going on, especially if you're talking about being there for the kid. You have to figure out, if you leave, how impactful is it going to be? If
It ain't my baby.
it's going to be very impactful because his father's not in a relationship with him, or, you know, you have been dad to him. I mean, but when you say leave, are we talking about is you finding out that it's not yours,
And you living in the same house for
and
10
you know
years?
for this I mean, you gotta look at it. I mean, because at that point you should buy. I wouldn't even be mad. I mean, that's deceit.
Finding this out right now not only hurts the child, but it also hurts the guy, because he's thinking he's supporting a child that's his for the last 10 years. Come to find out, the kid is not his. Now he has to possibly break that bond between him and the child. I don't even know why child support is even a part of this conversation. But with this crooked system, they'll make him pay just because he's been supporting the child for the last 10 years. I would not be surprised. The state is incentivized to put as many people on child support as possible. It sounds like a case of paternity fraud. Paternity fraud occurs when the mother of a child misidentifies a man as the biological father of their child.
Should DNA testing be mandatory on childbirth?
Yes, if it's wanted, if it's requested.
What?
Here is Google's definition of mandatory. Required by law or rules. Other words that you can use in the place of mandatory. Required, unavoidable, obligatory.
Then yes, it should be, it shouldn't be mandatory. If you know, like, oh, my girl, she ain't doing this, she ain't doing that, like,
But would you
I already
feel
know what it
offended
is.
if a man asked you
I'm
that?
very much offended. If I'm gonna be mad because you should know my body. I'm gonna be mad. You know my body.
That's the most creative answer I've heard ever. You know my body. You don't even know your body. Not enough to know if you were sleeping with two men at the same time, which man is the father.
I
wouldn't be
will.
offended at all. Go ahead.
I will. You know my body. Because I feel like you think, because I feel like you thinking that I'm out here. I feel like if a man think that, they think you out here, smutting or you cheating. That's how I'm thinking, because if a man was confident, my child's father did not ask me that. Not one time.
But how many women who are married to men and still have sexual relations with other guys, and a husband that has no clue and find out years later that's not his kid?
I believe it should be mandatory. Just like we pay taxes, it's automatic. That's how it should be when you're giving birth. When you have that baby, it should be automatic, mandated, and mandatory that you take a paternity test. Now, if you want to take care of a child that's not yours, that's fine. I respect any man that's willing to do that. But as far as these women out here that are lying and sleeping with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, I believe it should be mandatory.
Because if a nigga asks me that, then I'm going to feel like, what you think I've been doing? Like,
That crazy bitch out there again. If anything, if you're confident that it's his child,
I am.
It shouldn't be no problem. It shouldn't be no problem at all.
No, for me, I just feel like, honestly, don't ask me that. Because you sound stupid.
That's it.
Emotional damage.
Guys, what if there was a day where paternity tests were actually mandatory? Why
Do you
aren't
know
they?
who your baby daddy is?
I do.
Exactly.
Are we talking about this one individual? Or are we talking about making it mandatory for the entire U.S.?
For some women, they feel that it would make more of a stigma.
I don't give a fuck, Keisha.
Yeah.
Against women,
It
that
makes
men
a
would
stigma if you don't want to
stigmatize.
share the results. Yeah, right. It becomes a stigma. If it was just mandatory and it was all over, the stigma would actually go away. It gets weird because people got to be asking you, am I your baby father? Maury Povich moments, Are you the father?
But don't
if
you
it was
think it's
just
to be some
mandatory and we just...
responsibility that two people have sex and there's a possibility that woman's going to get pregnant, that it's a mature decision that, you are the father?
And you should know. But I think the stigma goes away when it becomes mandatory. When it becomes the norm that everyone has to do this, this is just the way it is. We're just checking to make sure. Just like you get all the tests when you are pregnant. You're taking blood tests, you're making sure the dad's healthy, you're making sure mom's healthy.
Well, it's good
Let's just
for
make sure it's your baby. Let's do that.
It's good for the genetics.
Absolutely.
I will say that.
Yes.
But I think that there's still an issue with, it's stigmatizing. Women are already women are already held to a different standard.
I think that the United States making DNA testing mandatory is stupid. I don't think that, it's something that if you feel like you need a DNA test, go do that on your own time because you feel that way. I don't think every person, there's millions of people in the United States. Like, it doesn't make sense that people could be using that time to do other things. Like, you could be saving a life. You could be in a hospital saving a life.
Bro, what are you talking about, man? So it's like, if a woman is claiming you to be the father of the child, you may, let's say you're not with that woman, which that happens a lot, in today's society. There's some doubt that this is probably not my child, but instead of, confronting it on both ends where I feel like it should just be a mandatory. Don't tell somebody the father of a child, but that there's a doubt, like if you had slept with someone in between.
I mean, you can avoid the doubt by going by God and getting married and...
Stop it. Get some help.
I mean, I think men definitely deserve to know it's their right. Just like if a woman's out there like that, she deserves to know who the father is as well. But I think it's definitely insulting if you're in a relationship and you're married and your partner wants you to have a DNA test.
No, it's more insulting.
That ain't straight.
No, that kid not yours. That's way more insulting.
For the question to be asked, can you take a DNA test? I mean, are you kidding me? What is this? Like, what did we go down the aisle for? What did we say those vows for? If you're not gonna automatically know that this baby is yours.
I personally pay taxes, and I care about where my money goes. I'm not here to pay for so-and-so because there's a confusion about who's the father. That's not my business. Handle your personal shit. And for me, I want to fund schools. I want to fund the MTA because the trains are never on time. We got bigger problems. We have bigger problems. I'm sorry. I'm not paying for no mandatory test.
Listen, come here. Shut your stupid ass up.
30% of the males who get DNA tested annually, according to the American Association of Blood Banks, which is the accrediting body for the DNA labs. This is over 44 DNA labs throughout the United States. They are testing close to 500,000 men per year, and over 30% of them have been confirmed that 0.0% paternity. Believe all women. Carnell Smith says, believe all evidence.
States make money off of child support. There's something called Title 4D, where let's say you go to court, dad is ordered to pay child support for mom. The state makes money off of this dad paying child support. The federal government reimburses the states, right, for collecting child support and dispersing it out. So you think, wait a minute, so if we had 50-50 custody, if we had kids are with mom half the time, with dad half the time, which by the way, research shows is the absolute best for kids, what happens with child support? It's greatly reduced or there's none. The more child support the state can reel in, the more the federal government pays the states. It's a business, you guys. You think and then of course we've got the feminazis out there saying, these deadbeat dads, these poor moms. No, number one, these poor moms fought against a dad trying to get equal custody. All we want to talk about is dads who they're not deadbeat, they're dead broke.
You guys, Tennessee has made it illegal to lie and put a baby on somebody. Let's talk about it. This new law passed in September of this year makes it a crime to commit paternity fraud. Under the language of the law, you cannot lie about who the father of your child is if you knew or should have known that they weren't the father, and it was with the intent to deprive the actual father of his rights or so that you could get money. Now, there's been a lot of celebration about this law and outcry that this should be spread nationwide, but I don't think that the impact of this law is going to be as widespread as some may hope. Intent can be extremely difficult to prove, and here there are 2 layers of intent that would have to be proven. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't women who foolishly will say things like, I'm going to tell this person that they're the father so I can get child support. But I think that happens so few and far between that this impact is not going to be tremendous.
A new proposed law in Tennessee will protect men against paternity fraud, requiring a DNA test before signing and validating a child's birth certificate and gaining any parental rights. The state's child support office is not a fan of the proposed law. Of course they're not. They just want to fill somebody in so they can pay the child support. And some of the times the man is not even a damn dad. They need to implement this in every state across America, all across the world. You feel me? You know how many dads are paying child support or sign the birth certificate and they not even the dad? When the child come out of the womb, a DNA test should be presented right then and there. It's mandatory. I don't care what nobody say. A lot of women are walking around here getting all that money in child support, and that's not even the dad at all, because no DNA test was presented after the child's birth. How y'all feel about this? I'm glad they doing that in Tennessee. They should do it all across the world. All right? And if a female don't like this, don't want to do this, then they hiding something.